So the parable of the weeds from Matthew 13, verses 24 to 30. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in the field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into the barn." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Over to you, Ian.
Thank you. Have we got some pictures to come up? Oh, there we are. Good. Okay, so we're going to look at some pictures first of all. So here we have Batman and the Joker. And the next one, please. And the next one, you might recognise those. That's Woody and Buzz from Toy Story. And the other guy is Al from Al's Toy Barn, also in Toy Story. And the next one, please. And the last one we have, that's Harry Potter. And I'm reliably informed that the guy down in the corner is someone called Voldemort. I've never read a Harry Potter book in my life. And I've only seen the same two bits of the films where the letters come down the chimney and where the school or castle, whatever it is, falls down at the end when I've been walking through the sitting room and other people have been watching it. But we're not here this morning to think about my lack of Harry Potter knowledge. We're here to think about our parable. And hopefully you've managed to ascertain from those pictures that in each picture there's a goodie and a baddie, or a hero and a villain. And our parable this morning is sort of a bit similar, really, because it tells us that a farmer who turns out to be the goodie, he goes out and plants some wheat in his field. And then we're told an enemy. So he's a baddie because the enemy sort of gives, the enemy word gives that away. He's going to be the baddie of the story. He comes and sows some weeds in that same field. And when the wheat grows, then the weeds start growing too. And the farmer's helpers come to him and they say, "Look, what's going on? You know, you sowed all this wheat in the field and now there are weeds growing. Your enemy has come and sown weeds in the field. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to pull those weeds up? Do you want us to go and let down the tires on his farm truck? Do you want us to tie him up and make him watch continuous episodes of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here until he goes mad? Probably after about 20 minutes. And the farmer says, "No, don't do any of that. Just let the two things grow together, the wheat and the weeds. And when it's time for harvest, we'll pull up the wheat and we'll put that to the purpose that it's been grown for. And the weeds, we'll just gather them up and we'll throw them on the fire and burn them." It's a bit like life, isn't it? When we look around, we probably think there are wheat and weeds, good and bad, out there growing together in our world. And sometimes we think it's not fair, that nothing seems to happen to the bad. If we're honest and search deep down in our heart, I'm sure we've all asked that question, haven't we? I know I have. You know, when my son's been particularly ill, being sick, having a tube down his nose to feed him, I've sat there and I said, this isn't fair. Why is he suffering? He's a good boy. He doesn't shout and scream and swear or make a fuss. And yet there's other vagabonds running around who just do as they like and nothing ever seems to happen to them. Not fair. We all have a sense of fairness, don't we, from quite early on in our life. But see, when Jesus explains the parable of the weeds to his followers, he says, as the farmer says, you know, it's okay. Let the wheat and the weeds grow together. You know, when that time comes, and, you know, you don't know that time, you don't need to know that time. I know that time, God says. You know, when that time comes, I'll gather the wheat, I'll gather the good, and I'll take it and use it for the purpose that I've grown it for. And the weeds, the bad, I'll gather those too. Don't worry about them though. It's not for you to worry about. I'll deal with that. But of course, you know, there's more to the story than that, because each of us has wheat and weed growing in our own life. And so we're going to look at some questions in a minute. And those questions will be, you know, what are those people, or who are those people, what are those situations that you think don't deserve to flourish and you think God should do something about? That's a tough one. Perhaps not so tough, or perhaps it is, I don't know. The second question is going to be, you know, what is the wheat and what are the weeds growing in our lives? And what do we do about those weeds? That's another question I've sort of slipped in. But what are those weeds? And what can we do about them? I think we're going to discuss some of those now, and then Jackie or Bruce will close with a prayer when we've had a chance to talk about them. Thank you.